Well, hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be taking a look at these two guys right here and comparing them. We got the Coros Apex 42mm size and the Polar Vantage M2. First, let's get these disclaimers out of the way. Yes, Polar did send this Vantage M2 to me to review, which I have done. Full review, top right corner, you can take a look at that. But then the Coros Apex 42, this is actually my wife's watch. I have the Coros Apex 46, which is sitting right over there. I'm wearing the Coros Vertex right now. But this is the Apex 42. It is her daily watch. She loves it. And so I'm going to do a comparison between the two because they're both priced the same, $299. A really good price for two really good watches. So let's take a look and see which one might be a little bit better, in my opinion. Okay, well, as always with my watch reviews, I always like to start out with looks. Do they look good? Yes. Done. Move on. No, seriously though, but they both look really good. There is some differences though. If you look at the two, there's quite a bit difference in the size. The Polar looks a lot larger. But in reality, it's not much of a bigger display. So the Polar Vantage M2 has a 1.2 inch display, and then around it there's another big piece of the bezel which takes up a lot of the space. So it looks really big, but in reality the display is not that big. The Coros Apex has a 1.1 inch, so just a little bit smaller than the Polar Vantage M2, but the overall watch as a whole is quite a bit smaller than the Vantage M2. The Vantage M2 comes in a variety of colors. This is the yellow and gray here. My wife wanted this kind of purplish color, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, they both look good. I also like to talk about comfort. So like I said in the original full review of this Polar Vantage M2, the band is pretty decent, silicone, a little bit stiff, just a bit. The Coros Apex band is also a silicone, a little more pliable, not as stiff, and to me, personally, just a little bit more comfortable, because this is basically the same band as on the Apex 46mm, just a little bit smaller. So it's pretty comfortable. Going back to the displays that we talked about just a moment ago, the Coros Apex does come standard with sapphire glass, which is just amazing. You can't beat the stuff. You can't scratch it either. And this is an always on display, so there's always something on your screen you can see. You hit the little button there, the light turns on, you can see a little bit better. The Polar Vantage M2, on the other hand, is what's called a hard-coated PMMA. Basically, it's just plexiglass, and again, that's not great at all. So no. But the display is also a always-on display, which you can see. Which you can see right there, it's on right now. So I did hit the light button, but as far as the brightness goes, they both look pretty good. You can see them both about the same. Neither of them are really vibrant or bright, but they're perfectly adequate and they work really well in direct sunlight. Both watches do have a stainless steel bezel. The Polar has this kind of scalloped look to it, whereas the Coros is more smooth and modern. But yeah, both stainless steel. Both of the housings are, hard glass fiber polymer, which is basically just a plastic. As we're looking at the back here, we can see there is definitely quite a bit of a difference in the heart rate monitors. The Polar Vantage M2 uses the Precision Prime, which has like 9 LEDs. It's a pretty accurate heart rate sensor. The Coros Apex, as you can see, has like 2, maybe 3 LEDs on there, and that's the weakest point of the Coros Apex, in my opinion, is the heart rate sensor. Okay, so this is the heart rate readings from the Polar Vantage M2 in purple, Coros Apex 42 in red. And just looking at it from an overview, I mean, they look pretty darn similar. A few differences, maybe one right here, but I mean, that's really only 3 beats per minute. So both of those heart rate sensors together seem pretty good. So moving on to battery life, the Polar Vantage M2 has 30 hours in the GPS activity. That's full heart rate, full GPS, 30 hours, which is pretty darn good. Normal daily use is around 5 to 7 days, just as a smartwatch. And then it also has a battery saver mode, which you can change and get up to 100 hours in a single activity, which is really nice for those long ultra marathons. The Coros Apex, on the other hand, the 42mm, remember, is 25 hours of battery life for one single GPS activity, full heart rate, all of that. You can switch it up to Ultra Max mode and get up to 80 hours, which is also really great for those ultra marathons. But where this watch really shines with its battery life is in its daily usage. So in daily normal usage, as a smartwatch, this can get up to 24 days without needing a charge, which is amazing. You basically can just put it on and forget about it. So with that said, the battery life on these, I would kind of give it a tie. This one can go a little bit longer on a GPS activity. This one can go a lot longer on daily usage. So cancels each other's out. Now talking about weight, the Polar Vantage M2 comes in at 45 grams, which is a pretty good weight. The Coros Apex 42 millimeter comes in at 49 grams. So even though it looks smaller as far as the housing, but it does have some more stainless steel on it, this one actually weighs a little bit less. So, you know, little win. Both watches can utilize basically the same GPS satellites. We've got GPS QZZ, we've got the GLONASS, we've got Galileo and Baidu, however you want to say it. Baidu on this one, Galileo on this one, so we'll call it a tie in the GPS satellites. But now where we look at the navigation, we can see maybe a little bit different story. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so we can see the start points are, you know, about the same, but for some reason, they're not on top of each other whatsoever. You can see the Polar Vantage M2 is much wider on all the turns. The blues are on top of each other pretty well, and the orange is on top of each other pretty well for the 2 laps that she did. But you can see they're not anywhere on top of each other, so I don't know. Don't know what to make of this. They're both okay. Another big win for the Coros Apex is this watch comes standard with a barometer, altimeter, and a compass, the ABCs of watches, whereas the Polar Vantage M2 does not. Doesn't have any. So that will allow the Coros Apex to be a little bit more accurate in times of poor GPS signal, because it can use those to help fine-tune that GPS track. All right, so let's get to some widgets. Both watches have them, quite a few of them. So let's take a look. All right, let's talk about weather. Both watches have weather in some respect, but the Polar does have a 3-day outlook, and you can also get into the hourly forecast, which is really handy. The Coros, on the other hand, has like a sunrise, sunset type thing, but it does give you, when paired with your phone, it does give you storm alerts. So it'll like beep and say, you know, storm alert or storm nearby, something like that. But it doesn't actually have weather on the watch where you can look at it and see a 3-day forecast or hourly. So that's a little bit of a win for the Polar there. Both watches also do track sleep, but like I've said in pretty much any of my watch reviews that have to do with Polar, you really can't beat the Polar platform when it comes to sleep accuracy. I think there's nothing better than the Polar watches or their sleep devices. So Coros definitely needs to improve their sleep tracking a little bit because Polar really does blow it out of the water. A couple of other wins for the Polar. We've got FuelWise built into this watch here, which basically you can put in your carbohydrate drink of choice, and it'll tell you how many carbohydrates you need to take, you know, per session, essentially, depending on how hard you're running, which is really handy. Coros does not do that at all. You can do a drink reminder on this one, but that's about it. The Polar also can break down and tell you your energy sources used, you know, whether or not on a run you burnt more fat or protein or carbohydrates, and then that helps you to tailor, you know, your nutrition to your run. So that's really cool too. Both watches also have custom workouts. So FitSpark on the Polar, which kind of gives you some guided exercises you can do, which is pretty cool. And the Coros also has that. You can do that through the app. You can select any kind of custom workout you want to do, put it in the watch, and then it gives you like a little stick figure to follow, which is pretty cool too. So they're both really nice in that respect. I just call that a tie. The Polar watch does have music controls. It's built into the watch. You cannot actually put music on the watch, but you can control it through the watch, which is pretty cool. Not an option on the Coros at all, nothing with music. So maybe in the future, we'll see. One of the biggest differences, you know, for me as a trail runner and my wife, who's also a trail runner, is the navigation. So with the Polar, there's nothing. I mean, you can't do a GPX route, put it to the watch, you can't even follow a breadcrumb trail. Nope, so throw that out. I don't want to throw the watch, I was gonna throw it. The Coros, on the other hand, you can create a GPX route, put it in the watch, follow that route, follow a breadcrumb trail, which is really handy and it works really well. I've got a video about that, top right corner, you can take a look at it. But for navigation uses, Coros hands down. One thing I will add about the Polar navigation, it does have back to start, so you can click that and then navigate your way back to start, but you cannot follow a course at all. Okay, so now the ball's in your court. Which watch do you think is better? Have you tried the Coros Apex 42 or the Polar Vantage M2? Let me know below if you have one of these watches, what you think of it. any kind of negatives you found in using it or something that's really cool. But yeah, I'd be curious to know. Let me know below. Like I said at the start though, both watches are $299. They're both, you know, good watches. They both have great features. You know, they both have triathlon mode, you know, multi-sport activities. You can do tons of activities. Probably a few more activities on the Polar platform that you can do. I think they've got like 130 activities, which is just crazy. So there's a lot there, but both good watches. Bottom line, you know, the ecosystem as far as the app goes, you know, for me, I've said it before and I'll say it again, Coros is very simple to use. And by simple, I don't mean that it lacks features. It's just very simple to use. Polar, on the other hand, is packed with all sorts of data, but it's kind of cumbersome and it's not easy to use. Synchronization times, super quick on the Coros. On the Polar, it takes a long time. So keep that in mind. Another key thing you might want to consider as well if you're looking at these watches is the fact that Polar has a website which you can go to, the Polar Flow, and you can see all your data from your runs, your swim, your bike, whatever you want to look at, whatever you did. You can see everything. Right now, Coros does not have any website-based viewing of your activities. It's all through the app. I've seen Coros mention that there will be a website coming in the future, but we don't know when that'll be. It could be a while still. So for now, big win for the Polar there. Keep that in mind if you're looking at these watches. Okay, so that's going to do it. Let me know below, like I said, what you think about these watches. Please give the video a like if you thought it was helpful. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. That way you'll see more watch comparisons and trail running videos and all sorts of stuff. So thank you for hanging out. I do appreciate you all. If you want to go ahead and take a look at the full review of the Coros Apex 46mm watch, which really just has a bigger battery, and that's about the only difference, it's going to be on this side of your screen. You can take a look at that. Over here will be a playlist of gear reviews. You can go check out other Polar watches and Coros watches and things like that that I've reviewed. So go check out one of those. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll talk to you on the next one.